Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, this is a very interesting matchup that we have right in front of us as Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. This fight's going to be taking place at UFC Seattle, Cejudo versus Song Yadong. We are going to be breaking down that specific fight, the main event, later on this week. So make sure you guys subscribe to this channel so you guys stay up to date with everything in the UFC. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about this fight that's going down this weekend. I think that if we put both these guys side by side, there is a clear favorite in this matchup. We're gonna go ahead and talk about that right now. But first, let's go talk about the last fight that both these guys had in the UFC. Brendan Allen, of course, we know his last fight was against Imavov back in September, where we saw some very freaking interesting things that he should have patched up by now. Now, in the Imavov fight, he did lose, and he absorbed a lot of punishment in that fight statistically. It was kind of frustrating to see that someone like Brendan Allen, who has all this experience, fighting professional fighters, wasn't able to pretty much defend against the jab all that much. He was letting Imavov's jab land a lot, and it was crazy that he didn't really try to parry. He didn't really try to catch a jab. He took a lot of punches to his guard, which in my opinion wasn't really good decision making. And hopefully, in his last camp, he did patch up some of those issues because, it's a big issue. If you're taking a punch on your guard, you aren't, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good to the judges. And every once in a while, those jabs are going to slip through. So I think that Brendan Allen should have damn well fixed some of that. That being said, I do think because of that Imavov fight, his resume is a little bit, more impressive because he has been fighting the more impressive fighters, or the fighters that have done a little bit more in the sport. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Anthony Hernandez, because his last performance, in my opinion, was a little bit questionable because we don't know how to really gauge it. We don't know really how to analyze that win, because Michel Pereira, even though, yeah, he did win in a very dominant form, Michel Pereira freaking gassed out after the freaking first round, and it was kind of frustrating to see. I think that Michel Pereira came in the favorite in that fight, and somehow Anthony Hernandez just ended up winning. But I think, if we were just being honest, the reason why that fight wasn't more competitive was because Michel Pereira did end up gassing out fucking early, and that was so frustrating to see. Now, this is what I will say. Because of that fight, it kind of raised the statistics of Anthony Hernandez. And I will say this: everybody's saying that Anthony Hernandez is this dark horse in the division, but because of that Michel Pereira fight, and because he pretty much dominated Michel Pereira the way that he did, his statistics kind of went up as well, right? And it was kind of a way to say that, because of that fight, he did stat pack a little bit, if we're being honest, right? Because he did land a lot against Michel Pereira. He did, take him down a couple of freaking times, and obviously those are going to raise his percentages a bit. On paper, it says that Anthony Hernandez lands more and Brendan Allen takes more damage, right? And I think that those are very important statistics to bring up, because in a way, it's pretty clear that both of those performances from their both last fights are kind of neck and neck in terms of where they are as fighters, if that makes sense. Because I don't think that Anthony Hernandez wins against Michel Pereira was that impressive, if I'm being honest, because his opponent was literally a punching bag that had no gas tank. And of course, Brendan Allen was fighting a very, very tough guy. He did end up losing, but he fought a very, very tough opponent, you know. So I don't know. I don't really know how to base their last performances because of that, if I'm being honest. But on paper, on paper, um, it's pretty obvious that Anthony Hernandez has the momentum in this, both mental and statistically, because obviously Anthony Hernandez is coming off that win. He's gonna have the more confidence, sub- even subconsciously, right? Of course, we know that Brendan Allen is coming off a loss, and that is definitely going to be playing a factor. Some fighters like to pretend that their last performance, don't affect them at all, but subconsciously it always does. If fighters are absolutely honest with themselves, Brendan Allen is going to have a little bit of a pressure to perform, especially since this is a rematch. We've seen these guys fight before. They fought in the LFA, and of course, Anthony Hernandez ended up winning that fight as well. So it's going to be like a lot of things that Brendan Allen is going to be fighting in this matchup. He's going to be fighting the stipulations that people already have of him because of his last performance, where he was absorbing a lot of punishment because Imavov was beating the fuck out of him. And of course, because he lost his last matchup against Anthony Hernandez the first time they fought. And Anthony Hernandez is coming off a dominant win over Michel Pereira, and he has a victory. So right now, there's a lot of things that are stacked up against Brendan Allen, and on paper, it is pretty clear that Anthony Hernandez is gonna win this fight. I don't know how I would pretty much assess this fight in terms of giving my prediction. I think it's a little bit more of a coin toss than people would like to admit. But my gut is telling me that if this becomes a little bit more of a striking exchange, because we are going to see grappling, we are definitely going to be seeing grappling in this fight. I think that Brendan Allen is probably going to edge up this win, not by much. I think this is going to be a decision win. I think that he gained a lot of experience fighting someone like Imavov, and Imavov was pretty much able to expose a lot of the things that are wrong with his. And hopefully, Brendan Allen did have a training camp where he fixed a lot of those mistakes that he was doing against a pretty above average striker like Imavov. Anthony Hernandez, in my opinion, right now, yes, on paper, like I've been saying, he does have the advantage, in every freaking area. Um, I think that this fight has the possibility of being a little bit more competitive than people will be surprised to witness, my honest opinion. Now, I do think that Brendan Allen's path to victory is not to grapple too much with Anthony Hernandez. And is that a hot take? I'm pretty sure that it is, because everybody probably thinks that this is going to be more of a grappling match. I do expect them to be, grappling exchanges, like I said at the beginning of this video. But for specifically for Brendan Allen, I don't think that that's going to be his specific path to victory. I think it's going to be Anthony Hernandez's path to victory, because obviously we know that Anthony Hernandez, he's able to get takedowns. He does very, very well with defending takedowns. His offensive and defensive game, whenever it does come into play in the grappling department, is always there. He is very, very solid, very, very good numbers, very good percentages, above average, actually, in the grappling for Anthony Hernandez. And like I said, he does land more, but that last fight that he had, did stat pack him a little bit. If we're being honest, um, Brendan Allen's gonna have to strike. He's gonna have to strike, and he's gonna have to strike in a very smart way. He's gonna have to pick and choose when he wants to be offensive and when he wants to be defensive. Anthony Hernandez is gonna pressure, and hopefully Brendan Allen comes into this matchup being a defensive or offensive counter fighter and does his thing against someone like Anthony Hernandez, who is very good off working with momentum. If Brendan Allen comes into the matchup with a very smart system and a very smart game plan, like, I think that he will, because I don't think that Brendan Allen is a dumb fighter. We have seen him make some very, very good, decision making in the past before. He's fought guys that I thought he was going to against, and he pretty much shocked me. I think that Brendan Allen has a shot at winning, but I do think that he is gonna have to turn his brain on in this fight. A lot of people say that styles make fights. This is the time where Brendan Allen is gonna have to be a little bit of an anomaly, with that idea. He is going to have to come into this fight, proving that he does have championship level decision making, championship level positioning, and pretty much use Anthony Hernandez against him. That's the only way he wins this matchup. I don't think that Brendan Allen wins this fight trying to be offensive grappling or trying to, look for Anthony Hernandez to be first and try to just play off the grappling off Anthony Hernandez momentum, because that Hernandez does really, really well, really, really well with grappling momentum specifically. Not all too much with striking momentum, just with the grappling momentum. I think that Anthony Hernandez is well, well above average, if not top 10 in the entire UFC, if I'm being honest. But with that being said, I don't know. Like I said, this fight is a little bit more of a toss up than people would like to admit. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Brendan Allen. I don't think that he's a dumbass. I think that, based on some of the decision making that I have seen him before, if he turns his brain on in this fight, he does have the possibility to win. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. As always, a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.